Hello. I'm not sure if I'm completely live yet. Yes, I am now. Hello. How are you all doing today? So today's going to be a different reading than usual. It's going to be more focused on the year outlook rather than just the monthly ones. So think of this as your year planner, and then every month we just dive into what we need to do each month. But at the moment, we're going to look at the whole year for 2025. So I'm just going to get a few things set up here. So do say hello in the comments so I can check that it's all working. I get all your comments on the phone because I'm struggling to get it to work on the computer. So let me just get that up there. So if you've got cards, we're not going to need them so much tonight, but it's worth having them in case you get an urge to pull. If you've got some water, then get that ready as well. And your journal and your pen, you definitely will need those. So I'm just waiting for the last people to join me on Zoom, which we are. Fantastic. Cool. So now that we've got that all up and running. Okay, I think we're ready to start. Yep, I've got my messages there. Let me see if I can get my messages on YouTube. Zoom, which we are. Sorry, get to hear me twice. So are you ready to unlock more of your quantum human potential? That's what these are about every month. And are you ready to flip the script on what it means to be human? Now, that might sound a bit drastic, but I think we sometimes think that the spiritual is more important than the human aspect. And that's why I do these quantum human, not talking about our spiritual selves, but it's a combination now. And it's getting more and more important that these two get combined into a single being. Not that we go and meditate to be spiritual and then come back to be human. Okay, I've got the live chat open on YouTube as well, so we're ready to go. So are we ready for 2025? Now, I don't follow the man-made calendars. Our year started in September because we do the astrological full moon year, which starts September to September. And we've been visioning our 2025 since then. So you don't have to wait till January 1st to vision your future. You don't have to use the man-made calendar if you want to wait for the Chinese calendar, which is the Lunar New Year, but it's your own natural rhythm. So tune into what your natural rhythm is telling you, and then use that to decide when you set goals. But what I hope to share with you today are the lessons of 2025 that will perhaps help you focus your goals a little bit more in alignment with the energies that we're going to be having. So how does that feel? What does that resonate for you guys? Do you feel like you're not quite ready to make New Year's resolutions yet this year? Would you like some information on the energy to help you focus more? Because it's going to be a big year. It is going to be a big year. I thought last year was big, but I think it's going to be another big year. So do drop a hello in the comments so I can see everything's working. And if you're there, please do subscribe and hit the bell for notifications because this all helps tell YouTube that somebody's listening to me somewhere. And then, as I say, I've been meaning to do more videos in between, but I haven't because I had a cold over Christmas. And then tech's been playing up. I've been having sound issues and microphone issues. So everything's kind of stopped me get this message out. But I will be doing more recordings of some of the more details of this and posting them. So if you subscribe and hit the bell, then you'll be notified when there's new videos available. So it's really important we don't do this alone anymore. And I'll be explaining, I've said it like every week, but I'll explain it more today because I've got another insight to help us understand why that's so critical now. Because so many of us on our spiritual journeys decide that we should be off on our own doing something, when in reality, there is power in community. And I'm not just talking about the group energy. What's coming through for 2025 is a kind of a different way of looking at how we communicate. And it's going to be based off, funny enough, a really old book from 1997, The Celestine Prophecies. So I was quite surprised to see that pop up in the 2025 reading, but it'll all make sense when I explain it a bit later. So I'm going to talk about a different reading this month. Normally the monthly ones have a set format, but it'll be a slightly different format. And I'll tell you the questions that I asked. So I think I'm finally getting to understand a lot more about my work, what I've been doing, why I've been guided to say the things I've said. And it's funny because we're encouraged to share our downloads and our insights and to believe in them before we really know what they are. And that's kind of where I started doing this Quantum Human Revelations. I wasn't sure what I was sharing. I didn't really know how it was going to show up for people, but I knew it was important. And now in 2025, I can finally, and that's like, we've been doing this for 2.5 years, and it's only now finally I get to see the end result of what we were doing. And that's the spiritual pattern, is it? Walking in the darkness boldly, knowing that somehow you're going in the right direction and that you'll get where you're meant to be. So take a few deep breaths now and bring yourself into the present where we are now. And just allow yourself to connect with the energies I'm about to share today. Maybe close your eyes and just concentrate on your breathing, bring yourself into your body. And as you're listening to the information I'm sharing, you can use your body testing to go forward and backwards if you've mastered that, to just see which bits are true for you. We always use the body testing to bypass the personality and the mind. So the body testing gives us more soul-aligned answers and will help us navigate through 2025 more accurately. So last month I gave you the January reading, and we were exploring and aligning with the new energetic landscape that I spoke about and how it was starting to show up in our lives. And it was about stepping into our power and letting go of old scripts and starting to write higher vibrational narratives. And that was what we predicted for January. So it's interesting that this is now expanded on in the yearly reading for the whole of 2025. So that was a good introduction to what I'm going to talk about this week. And we've got to remember this is an iterative process. Like I said, it's 2.5 years I've been getting more and more information and filling in the holes. It's iterative and it's meant to be that way. It's meant to guide us through step by step and evolving higher and higher and adding more as we become more capable. Now, this year, I'm not going to have a theme as such, other than it is stepping into your power more, letting go of old energetic habits, and embracing the power of being human, a spiritual human, and also aligning with the Aquarian vision. So we know that Pluto's moved into Aquarius and we're moving into the age of Aquarius. And this is not only our soul's great vision. What it's saying for 2025 is this is going to be even bigger than I thought. Our soul's great vision is this non-selfish part of us, our work to help serve others. I've heard it called your big why. I've heard it called your kingdom's work. And now it's actually the kingdom's work has been given a name, and the kingdom's work is really quite profound. If last year we had strange energies about our God spark and the solar flares and how that was bringing itself in to activate in our bodies, that was us stepping into our divinity to remember the power of the human body, then this is another level again. And it's taking us up into, I think it's going to be a challenging concept for some of us who are still in victim. And I often say we're trying to move out of victim. But effectively, we are here as agents of change to trigger evolution of our species. I was a bit surprised when I read that too. I was like, really? But I can kind of see it. I can kind of see how it all fits into everything I've been doing now. I'm starting to go, oh, okay, yeah, that makes more sense. So the evolution of the species is what I think is the next version of humanity, is the quantum human. That's my quantum human theory, effectively. And that as a quantum human, our trait will be that we'll know how to work with the secrets of the universe and the secrets of the human body, of our God spark, to be able to evolve ourselves into the perfect version of humanity that we all kind of have that little bit in our minds, don't we, where we kind of feel like there's something more, we could be more. And we always think, oh, that's source. That's how we were in source. That's what we felt in source. That's how great it felt in source. And I used to think that too. I used to think, why am I here when I can remember this memory of source so vividly? And then I started to realize I'm remembering it because I'm meant to bring it here. I'm meant to try and recreate it here. But to do that, we know we can look at humanity and say, well, humans generally don't tend to want to work together. They tend to fight. They tend to be more separate. But then some of us who can remember this source feeling are here to evolve humanity, which means helping people transform, helping people heal their fear, helping people get comfortable with change and chaos, so that we can evolve into a humanity that is a balance of science and spiritual, rather than having that split that we need for the future. So how does that feel? I know that might be a big start to today, but I'll be sharing some of the things that we can do to try and step into this. So Yeah, so some people are saying they're not doing anything now. Their year will start on the 28th of February. Yeah, definitely. I still feel like there's a lot more information to come down regarding what 2025 could be. So I've kind of got the highlights today, but we're going to be working on this in our membership for the next year. That's what we did with the energies last year too. So based on that, the outlook really is that if we master the lessons of this year that I'm sharing, which are actually not really lessons, they're more today's 2025 will be a year of managing our energy better. And if we can master that, then our future, the outlook is our future is ours to vision. So it's another kind of vague outlook, but equally it's in your hands. So I'd like to welcome your evolving quantum humans, those that are here to be change makers for evolution. And are you ready to join me flipping the script on what it means to be human? Because that's the first step we have to do. Now, you might be feeling stuck or burnt out or lacking fulfillment of purpose, and even overwhelmed with what we're going through. But this is part of the transformation. This is us doing what we have to do to prepare for what we're going through. So don't think because you're feeling burnt out or stuck that this isn't for you. This is your future too, and it's what you can step into. And the fact that you're in this stuck phase shows that you're kind of in the birthing canal, getting ready to be rebirthed and renewed. So showing up to things like this, I really celebrate people to say welcome and thank you for joining me, because it's important more and more people start thinking this way now. And this information is to try and remind people that you're not broken, you're not a victim, you are in the middle of what is probably the biggest living death of our time. And it's a huge transformation as we're evolving at these times. So 2025 will have a lot of focus on evolution as we go through this information today. So for those that don't know me, I'm Trudy. So I've got some people on Zoom with me, and I've got you guys on YouTube. And I specialize in channeling divine intelligence and soul purpose, and as a visionary for the future. So I share ascension energy roadmaps and quantum human revelations, hopefully in a very practical, pragmatic way, so that you can actually do something in your life with the information. And what that will allow you to do is to feel a bit bolder and to step out of the shadows so you can step into your quantum light, that quantum human. And I hope that everybody that watches this is starting to feel this soul calling, this wanting to be something different, wanting the world to be different. And if you are, then you're in the right place. That's what we talk about every month. But of course, the question is, how do we do this? And such an introduction as I've given now is so huge. How do we actually step into becoming agents of change to evolve humanity? It's huge. And this isn't about becoming healers. This is the fascinating thing I've been constantly told. It's not about being a healer. This is a different way of creating evolution. So not everyone has to go and become healers. So that's even more important if you're here and you're not wanting to be a healer, but you want to create change. So I think the energies I'm going to share this month might be a little bit unusual because it's energetic focused, but I'm going to try and explain it in a way that hopefully you can relate to. So how you can co-create with me today, because we're doing this as we're doing this together. I'm sharing information, and I'll explain more about this as we go on, because this is important. I'm sharing information with you, but you need to share information with me too. You remember I said we're not meant to do this on our own anymore. We're meant to create like this infinite circle of I tell you something, you tell me something, that inspires me, I inspire you. And that's evolution, effectively, if you think about it. Art has been famous for doing this. You know, when the Renaissance came along, it was from the artists. They then rippled through to how we lived and how we danced and how we, it kind of, the tendrils of change go out in ways we can't control. But somebody has to start the ball rolling. So you're co-creating with me today. So grab your journal and your oracle cards, or even a book. If you don't use oracle cards, grab a book, and then we can just open it on random pages for information. You can even create a vibrational water based off of the energies that we're working with today that you can use as a spray. And you can use that over the week to help integrate the energies. But each of these lives is, even if you're watching it on replay, is a combination of words and energies. I'm trying to channel the energies so you can feel them too, so you then know how to recognize them and work with them yourself. So I do put a warning on this. If you're here and you're sensitive and you're creative and intelligent and you think you're empathic, then you've probably been playing a bit small. then I'm going to be trying to connect you to your pioneering, trailblazing change agent of evolution, connecting to your higher consciousness. That's what I try to do in each of these. So hopefully that doesn't scare you off and you're willing to give this a go, because you designed your life. And I try to help you decode the clues that you left yourself all the way through your life, so that you can have a life of an adventure, of self-discovery, to find your courage and your inner power of your true soul essence, your holy grail. So the aim for you to be your true essence is so that you can create impactful change. Now, remember, I used to say impactful change thinking, oh, you might change the way your children speak at school. Now I'm starting to think impactful change means you're going to create evolution in your corner of the universe. So if that resonates with you, then I'm going to change it a little bit today and talk of it a bit more as an intention. So if what I've just said doesn't scare you off, then maybe you want to repeat this as an intention for our 2025, I guess. Let me just check in with the messages. Why do we think we're still stuck in victim? Not everyone is. Some people are coming out the other side, but there are still a lot in victim that we have to prepare and help guide through to the other side. So that's from Charles. Oh, hey, Conscious Evolution. Dana's there from America. Nice to see you. I'm glad you could join us. So on Zoom, we've got excites me, not scary. So that's cool. But they've been working in the membership. We've been building up to this. Like I said, now I can see what we've been doing. We've been building up to this. So our intention, no matter if I'm live or if you're watching the replay, so you can repeat this after me. I can choose by intention to invite in these frequencies. I choose to let this session awaken me. I choose to release negative contracts and vows. I choose to believe I can recalibrate myself. Even if I do not fully understand how. By tapping into my instinct of God that resides in every cell of my body. So that is saying your instinct of God knows how to change. You just have to get out of the way and let it. I can choose which energetic doorways to open. And I can choose which to explore on my quest to discover who I am and what I'm here to do. I am always curious and discerning. I look for soul-aligned experiences. And I take responsibility to find the keys to unlocking profound changes in my life. And if you want to put your hand on your heart, if you've said those words, and make that your New Year's resolution, make that your promise to yourself, that that's how you're going to navigate 2025. How does that feel? Exciting, nice. So again, just to remind you guys, this is just a taste of what we do in the Quantum Human membership, where I've been experimenting with 12 workshops every year. And now I'm seeing them as superstructures that we need to boost our foundations so we can go higher, especially with this concept of evolution. So if you need any support or accountability to help quantum leap your life, then get in touch to see what we're doing. So I'm kind of starting to see my work now as a quantum human theory. That way then we can all kind of see which bits we can add to it. Somebody saying liberating, cool. So if you want to know more about this quantum human theory we're developing and getting downloads on, and even members of the community are contributing to this theory, they help me get more insights, then get in touch. So that's whitestarsoulguidance@gmail.com. Charles, you'll have to explain. You thought you had us do all that last year? All that. Is that the intention, you mean? Hopefully the intention will give you a bit more focus for this year. And it's different. I haven't had you guys say it out loud before, but hopefully that'll be a good manifestation statement for you all. So as I said, I've got some people on Zoom. So that's why I'm looking around. I've got Zoom and I've got people on my phone. So I'm checking comments there as well. And when we finish this, I'll say goodbye to you guys, but everyone on Zoom stay with me, don't leave me, and we carry on the conversation as a Q&A later. So as I said, the format is different, this yearly one. So here's the 8 questions I have asked. Where are we right now? What will be our potential or our challenge? What do we need to focus on becoming? What can we use as our strength? What is our near future? What approach can we take? What do we need to know? And based on all that, what is the potential future? So that's the kind of year plan questions that will kind of guide all the other monthly sessions I do this year. And think of it as a project management, it's the overall plan, and then each month we just update it with specifics. So while I'm setting up here and just checking everything, I want you to take a few breaths and to contemplate these questions. Just take the first number that pops into your head, and then you can type it into the comments along with the number so I can see which number goes with which. So your first quantum questions are, number 1, I am ready to be a messenger of light, 1 to 100. Wow, that was quick. An answer straight away, that was quick. So I am ready to be a messenger of light, 1 to 100. Question 1. $98 to 100, 78, nice. Got some numbers coming in there. I'm ready to be an agent of evolution is question 2. So I'm ready to be an agent of evolution, question 2, 1 to 100. $79, 96. Wow, you guys are definitely ready on Zoom to become agents of evolution. How about you guys on Zoom? Sorry, on YouTube. And then question 3, I am ready to retrain my human personality to obey my soul calling, 1 to 100. That's question 3. I am ready to retrain my human personality to obey my soul calling, 1 to 100. $69, 60. Ooh, a bit less there. 43. 86. Cool. So effectively what I'm asking those 3 questions is, how ready are you to work with spirit? How ready are you to become an agent of evolution, as in do your soul's work, your kingdom's work? And then 3 was, how willing are you to work on your personality and your humanness to allow all of that to come into fruition? So that's why I did those 3 questions. So thank you for sharing your answers on that. That's all insightful. I haven't got anything coming through on YouTube, but that's a bit behind us at the moment, so we might have to wait for that to catch up. Okay, so what ingredients have we got to work with during 2025? So this is normally where I talk about cosmic energies, and obviously they're going to change over the year, but I think the energetic landscape I spoke about in the last episode is really relevant. And I think that gives us all of the ingredients we need to strip away any illusions and to awaken the quantum human attributes that are the things in us that are the very best about ourselves. Now, in 2023, we also had a year that said it was a year of no form. So when we were working through 2023, it actually ended up in chaos, because it was like being an animal let out of a zoo for the first time. We didn't know what to do. We were free, but kind of wanted to go back to the containment of the zoo, because at least there we knew where our food was coming from. So that was 2023. In 2024, we started getting more of our divine attributes coming in. So this was remembering our divinity, not as in, oh, we are God, therefore we are source. This was remembering that our human body knows how to breathe, how to repair itself, how to walk and talk and do multiple things. Our brains are amazing, more amazing than AI. That's the kind of human divinity that was coming in 2024. So we often forget that part of the power of our bodies. This year, it seems to be more focused on, it's still formless and that we can still vision the future. Because if you remember, I said 2025, the outcome is that it's ours to vision. But I think now it's going to come with more peace. And it's going to allow us to embrace opportunities for change. And that really allows us to be change makers. So it's not fixed in that we can change it, but it's stable or resilient because we have the tools we need to cope with pivoting and changing as we go through the year. So even if only a few of us have this ability now, we can still start putting together the pieces into a vision. And the one thing I've been teaching a lot of is you don't have to know the whole vision to get started. You just have to have some of the pieces, write it, start visioning it, and then wait for the next insight to see what you add to it. Don't think it's going to be some complete picture that's going to arrive as a fully formed concept in your head. If you're for evolution, as a change maker of evolution, then you have to be open to receiving information and constantly updating who you are and what you're here to do. And we're doing this now, this visioning, not because our personality wants more money or our personality wants a romantic relationship. We're doing this now, like, how can we make Earth just a better place? What do we as humans need to change and evolve from and into something new in order to make Earth a beautiful place to live? So I have a little exercise for you here. So one of the books that came up as the approach, there were 3 books. Celestine Prophecy was one. And this other one was by a guy called William McCaskill. He's a futurist and he's studying long-termism in Oxford. I think that's Oxford, UK. And long-termism is a theoretical approach to looking at the impact of what we're doing today on the future. So he suggested, or he outlined this exercise, which I want you to think about now. So it's from a book called What We Owe the Future. So I want you to close your eyes and imagine that you can travel around time, right back to when humans were first born, and you're going to live everybody's life. You're going to go back to the very first person and imagine experiencing their life. Then you'll have their children's life. Then you go back and find the second person and have their life. And this isn't just your ancestral line of your heritage. This is everybody's life. Can you get a feel for that? Give me a thumbs up if you're getting the idea. And you can imagine yourself traveling through all the different timelines, through the sociological changes, through the different epochs, the different eras. Dizzy. Yeah, well, you're a time traveler, so I'm not surprised you're dizzy. But what he presumed, or what he suggested in his book, is that that would equal 4 trillion years of experience. So yeah, dizzy is a lot. Of which, from that 4 trillion years of experiences, 10% of that would be when you were a hunter-gatherer. 20% of that time you were raising children. 20% of that time you were farming. Interestingly, he had only 2% of the time we were doing spiritual and religious rituals. 1.5 billion years we were having sex. And 250 million years we were giving birth. And I like this. He ended with, and 44 trillion cups of coffee. Does that kind of give you a kind of a unity consciousness kind of feeling now? Now, due to population growth, a third of those experiences happened after the year 1200 AD. So a third of those 4 trillion experiences happened after 1200. In 1750, technology and society starts to change faster and faster. People are living longer and longer. You're living through the periods from the medieval times. You've moved out of those now into scientific revelations. No longer are we using the church to guide our spiritual meaning of life. We're starting to use science to describe our meaning of life. So you've gone through these huge changes, the Renaissance. 15% of your experiences out of that 4 trillion would be of all the people on Earth right now. Very interesting. Yeah, it is. I thought this was really interesting. If you need an example of unity consciousness, this is it. So if we zoom out, and he assumed that a mammal species experiences or lasts for 1 million years, then in the age, if 1 million years was the lifespan of the human experience, then that would make us 5 months old, where we are now in time. He then zooms out even more and says, if we assume that we all last more than the 1 million years, that we last until the last star burns out, then where are we on the human scale is that we are just 1 second old. So what his point was as the future is to say that you are basically at the beginning of the future. The future is bigger than what we've already experienced. So if you knew you were going to be around in the distant future, what would you want us to do now? And that is the future we are here to vision now. We are technically the ancients. I know it's hard to believe with our technology right now, but we are the ancients of the future generations. Like I said, we're only 5 months old, so you can imagine how many more futures are going to come. We will be the ancients. So what legacy are we leaving? So I've got some minds being blown there. Very powerful, yeah. That was just his introduction. So if you want to get the book, that was just his introduction. I think the argument he was putting there is that long-termism is looking more into the future. Now, I got really frustrated when I was reading this book because with our access to higher consciousness, I knew some of the answers he wanted to do. Like, we've been to past lives and seen some of this stuff. So we're already starting to remember that we have other perspectives to see. And he doesn't have that because he's coming more from a theological or philosophical point of view. So as a soul guide, I would ask us then to focus on not just what planet do we want to live on, but as a soul guide, I'm interested in what sort of people do we need to become? What sort of society do we need to become? That's the center to my 2025 reading. Yes, there's lots we can do to improve the planet and have better energy and all those things, but at the core of all of this is us. We have to change. We have to be something different. As they say, you can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. We can't keep being the same and expect different results. We have to change. And that's the energetic landscape that we have unfolding right now. Yeah, I'll share the names of the books. I think that one was called What We Owe the Future. So I'd love for you to share your ideas on that. What does that kind of make you think about when we consider that 4 trillion lifetimes? And hopefully we're not just thinking about the amount of sex that we were having. Yeah, well, I'm like I said, I haven't got very far in the book because I'm getting really frustrated with it because it's kind of like I kind of like want to have the argument with him and say, yeah, but let me take you on a soul journey and show you this. I can show you this. I can connect you to divine intelligence and show you this. But I will persevere and I will read it. So based on that, what stops us becoming these amazing human beings? Does anybody want to give me an answer to that? What do you think stops us from becoming these amazing beings? So Charles was saying, had us do that last year, everything you just intended. Yeah, so basically I'm going to make that the intention for every session so that we can always be tuning into that because we can forget between sessions and not reinforce it. So that's kind of like my manifestation intention for each session when we do these. So yeah, it's going to be repeated a lot. Yeah, so here's the answer. So what stops us becoming amazing human beings? Fear, not knowing what to do. Anybody on YouTube? So not feeling enough, yeah. So where do they come from? Where does fear, not knowing what to do, not feeling enough come from? Distraction with jobs and daily life. Ancestral and present. So that's the ancestral and our present is how we absorb stuff. But what's inside us that makes this continue? What part of us continues these stories? We're in love with the separation consciousness. I'm not sure if we're in love with it, but we're definitely tied to it. We do get, we believe it intensely for sure. Blocks. Well, it's our personality. This is why so many books have been written on dissolving the personality. Our personality is the part of us that interprets the fears and the wounds and decides how we should react based off of them. And I said, I can't remember which episode, but we spoke about how do we create unity consciousness? Well, we can't have unity consciousness if we're still afraid, if we still see other people as threats, if we're still in scarcity consciousness and we want our own stuff to feel safe and other people want our stuff too. And all of that comes out of the personality, because when we tap into the soul and connect with the soul, as you know, the guys here on Zoom have done a lot of soul work with me. Did you feel any of the fears and the wounds when you're connected to the soul? What happens? No. We've even done soul-to-soul communications between two people who are arguing, and when you get to a soul-to-soul communication, all of the kind of personality issues dissolve, and you have a much more successful communication with them. So as I tuned more deeply into the energy of 2025 and the implications of this, it kind of added more information to what I've been doing as well. More of the puzzle pieces started to fall in, because we do a lot of work between soul and personality. And I've been following the clues faithfully, doing what I'm told, creating courses, creating these talks, talking about stuff that sometimes is new to me, and then researching it so that I can communicate it in the best way possible for you. Just knowing it's important. And I say this because this is how we all have to behave in 2025. And that makes things really hard to market. You're a little bit ahead of your time when you're doing this. You're more connected to the future. And when you're trying to sell something, people will say, oh yeah, make it simpler, do this, do that. And that's kind of breaking the whole point of what we're here to do. And I can tell you, trying to explain what I do to normal people is really hard. But if they experience what I'm doing, then it makes a lot more sense. So I suddenly realized, for example, that I've been doing these full moon esoteric workshops. There's 12 of them. And it's about us learning how to incorporate the different lessons. I chose esoteric because it's a soul lesson growth system, as opposed to the enneagram, which is personality. So I've been more focused on the soul and describing procedures to work with the soul than I have with the personality. And a soul-led approach is how we heal the personality. I've said the same with fear. If you want to remove fear, you can't. You can't just remove energy or remove feelings. You have to reforge them. You have to redefine them and use them in better ways. So why are we writing so many books on dissolving the personality, of understanding, of breaking down the personality into all these substructures, the inner child, the perfectionist, the guru, you know? We know so much about the personality, but we're just locking in. We're putting our focus on the personality, locking in the personality, rather than liberating us from it. And I've started seeing the personality more like a bodyguard with the wrong programming. So we work on it to reprogram it and to make it a servant of the soul. Because it's very tenacious, it can do a lot of stuff. So why don't we just give it a new job and then start looking at the soul to give it the new programming, rather than letting it absorb it from its external world, from its ancestors, from family, society. Let's give it a different source of information. Let's feed it differently. And I think that then will bring us back to our true essence with this perfect balance of our personality and soul. And a couple of episodes ago, we did actually try and see what our percentages were on personality-led and soul-led. And I wondered if it should really be 50-50 rather than zero or low personality and high soul. So this allows us, then you think about it, to show up more authentically. Because this is a way to transcend our wounds and fears rather than fix them, because you're not broken. Yeah? And I like to sort of look at the human body more like technology because it's easier to explain from my computing background. So the personality is just a technology that's being misused right now. It's got purposes and uses if we could give it a different programmer. And that program has to be able to reforge and refocus it so that it is more focused on the soul and the divine plan and this bigger evolution of humanity. So based on that, then I could see that my full moon workshops, which were esoteric, are now becoming foundations and skill sets, or not even skill sets, they're definitely foundational superstructures that once we embody them, we can then use all the different tools like meditation and visualization and energy healing or transformation and reading and writing and project management and caring. You know, those are all tools that we can then use more effectively once we have the foundation, because a lot of sensitive people don't engage with life because it's too much energy. They get burnt out. They feel like they're not heard or they're misunderstood. And that's where the foundation is missing, because those people have the most to offer right now. They're the ones with the secrets that we really need. So that's why I think that we need these superstructures in place so that they can go on and do this for the evolution of humanity. So if we consider my last workshop, which was the Cancer full moon, so each month I do share this as part of the energy reading, but we knew that it was representing a new way of being for quantum humans. And when we're working with the full moon, we're learning to develop a deep sense of safety. It's kind of like learning who we are separate from the collective. It's where we're trying to be individual, but still working for the whole, to have our own unique experiences without harming another. And that also means learning our boundaries energetically so that we don't keep giving energy away, getting burnt out, or having our energy sucked where we've given our energy away for other reasons and our power away. And when we feel our energetic boundaries are more intact, we actually feel safer naturally. And it starts healing our inner child wounds, because we wanted to be the cosmic mother to ourselves. So instead of having to look outside of ourselves to find the nurturing that we didn't have as children, or maybe you did, but if you didn't, then we have to build that energy up ourselves. And we do all that through energy work. So what also came up is understanding our energetic manipulation techniques. We all fight for power, and this is where the Celestine prophecy comes in as part of this 2025 reading. The Celestine prophecy describes 4 control dramas, and there are other more detailed books on this, but that's a good one to get started with. And the whole point of these control dramas is us trying to steal energy from another person because we don't have access to our own source energy. And through these techniques, they become maladaptive, and we learn them as children typically. Then we carry on doing them as adults. And this is how we hurt each other without intending to, because we're so focused on getting our own needs met, we don't even realize what we're doing energetically to other people. So I'm not going to go into the 4 types because that's going to take us on a whole longer journey, and we're already running a bit late as well, a lot late at the moment. So I just want to introduce you to that book. Celestine Prophecy is 1997. And to focus on the control dramas that they talk about. The book is actually a parable. It's a kind of very simple story with the insights that we need embedded into it to try and explain it in a way that's practical. But it was basically the part of that book that's relevant for 2025 is we have to fix the manipulation techniques we've been using and stop fighting for power as part of this ability to then be more unified and to start focusing on evolution as a group as opposed to individual selfish aims instead. Does that make sense? And then we use the full moon because that just happens to show shadows, and it highlights everything that we didn't know we were doing then, that basically was not allowing us to become the perfect divine mother, the perfect energy alchemist, and the ability to control our energy better. So Charles asked an interesting question. If we're not in love with separation consciousness, what are we in love with? Doesn't it all boil down to safety and our personality? And it's not even, selfish and greed, is it? That's survival techniques in a way. People who are greedy have that lack of feeling safe or have been able to fend for themselves or to get their own resources. And that then makes them respond in such a way that they will take from others because they haven't got the connection themselves to make this happen for themselves. And what we're talking about is if we're able, through these control dramas, to stop some of that behavior and start taking a slightly more responsible and higher perspective from a soul perspective, we'll probably see the energetic tricks that we've been playing on each other. And once we stop that, then it opens the doorways to better communication and better connection. And I've seen this in my work. Somebody might come to me and say, oh, my boyfriend or my mother or my this is bad to me. But the change can only happen from the person I'm working with. And just changing their energy is enough to shift it so the other person changes the way they behave. And this is really important to understand this interconnected bit, because that's why I'm saying we can't do this alone anymore. Technically, we haven't been doing this alone, if you think about it. The people we're born into, the families we're born into, the people that are our friends, all of these people have been placed as part of your design for you to use as a mirror to help you grow and for you to evolve. So part of what we did in that workshop then was we had discussions about energetic boundaries, how to go from empath to empowered, how to become your own mother and heal your own inner child, but also help support you as an adult, and how to create a sense of home. So you can see how this workshop now is starting to fit more into an evolution kind of concept. Because if we can feel safe, and that's the whole thing of cancer is safe, then we can show up and engage in life. We can have difficult conversations. We can not fear losing something because we'll feel like we can regain it in a different way. We stop feeling like we're broken. We stop feeling like a victim. And we start realizing that we are the saviors that we need, that we are the galactic light, that we are the human, divine human, and bringing in this higher consciousness, this messengers of light. And that's how we birth more light onto the planet. So the physical symptoms we need to watch out for will be burnout and battles for our energy. They'll start to intensify now. And you might never have noticed this before, but perhaps if you read the Celestine Prophecy, you'll start having some clues as to how to recognize when this is happening. Because we're going to be shown all the ways you're not managing your energy correctly right now. It's going to show you all your weak spots, all the ways that you steal energy from others, all the way you give energy without thinking about it. Now, how many of you guys watching now are new to energy? And even if you're not new to energy, you might be used to having maybe a Reiki session where you get some hands-on healing. But having that is different from actually energetically watching the world and watching interactions between people, between animals, between situations, and reading that dynamic of that energy is kind of like a hidden world. When you're able to tune into that level, it's like seeing a hidden world. Suddenly you can't be angry at the person that's just said something awful to you because you can feel the pain that the energy is coming from. And then you can be more compassionate. And when you can be more compassionate, you're more forgiving. And when you're more forgiving, you become more unified with the person. You're feeling with the person. And then instead of attacking back, which might have been your old control drama, what you want to do is you want to help them. Because by helping them, you're helping yourself. Not saying that everybody wants help. We have to still be discerning and give people free will to do what they want to do when they want to do. But there will be some people who are ready for this, and that's an evolutionary change. You're modeling a new way of being. You're starting to behave differently, which gives other people permission to do that too. So I still think it's going to be really important over the next year to keep an eye on your body, look after yourself, body scan to see what your body needs, keep your nervous system checked, because that's the kind of the big thing for our bodies and our souls. If our nervous system's in fight or flight, you're not going to connect to your soul or your higher self. Any comments on that so far? So in order for us to evolve, we basically have to get better at managing our personality wounds and fears and transforming them and reforging them into a different way of using them to guide us through life with our soul more in tuned so that we can use our soul as the guide. And we have to also learn how to manage the human body energy system to help start to breaking some of these control dramas that are playing out in our work, in our families, between our parents and children, between even the way I interact with not my children, because I don't have children, but the children of the world right now. You know, there's not always it doesn't have to be a biological family when you start doing this work. You start looking at it from a bigger perspective. So the astrology for now, I'm not going to go into too much detail because this is for the whole year, and obviously the astrology is going to change. But the key thing we need to remember is all the planets are changing, and Pluto is now in Aquarius. So we're looking at the bigger picture, so we're not going to go into the astrology, particularly for this reading for 2025. Okay, so let's just take a moment to contemplate what I've already said. Do you guys want to share back with me something that you've got from that, based on what I said, that we need to share whatever comes to mind, because that's part of the evolution? What you have to share with me now is as important to this energy we're creating together. Maybe you can see how safety is quite an important superstructure that we need if we're going to want to go and do this work. Maybe just thought of another superstructure you might need to make you bolder and vision bigger. Just share whatever comes to mind now, just share. Safety. Yeah, I knew that was going to be an awful lot. The next bit is not as intense, but I was going to suggest that maybe at this point, some people might want to drop off the call and sit and journal based on what I've said and just watch the replay for a little bit. But there is, I think, like, there's still a bit more profoundness to come. Sorry. I told you it was going to be big. But also, I feel that the next few bits will sort of recap some of the stuff that I've said. That's kind of like setting the foundations for what we're going to talk about. So let's see. So we're talking about how we're not just here as people to do some sort of work or service for humanity. We're actually here to trigger evolution. And that to trigger evolution, we need to get better at healing our personality so that we don't get trapped in control dramas anymore. That we need to be more considerate of the future, as in understanding that we are just 5 months old in the grand scheme of humanity, and that there's a lot of future ahead of us, that we want to be able to do good things now then for that future. So what we owe the future. That there are superstructures that we need to start putting in place in order to help us feel safe or to help us communicate better, that we are then able to step more into feeling safe, protected, and able to talk to people in a different way, to get more clues coming into our life, to share more clues, to show up and engage in life more. So that's the kind of stuff we're just spoken about. So I hope that's just to give you a clue, Charles. But yeah, this is something you probably want to replay a couple of times, because like my mind's been blown just by getting these downloads, and the visions I'm getting is like, I'm like, whoa, how do I keep this? I didn't think I'd get it in an hour. Knew I was going to struggle, but I thought it's important to get it out there. So yeah, we are the ancients for the future. We are 5 months old. Excellent. Cool. Right, so like I said, I could stop there and that would be enough for one session, but I know if I don't finish this video today, then I don't know when I'll finish the rest of it. So might be a point when if you're watching this on a replay, to pause and just contemplate what I've said and then come back and watch the rest of this another day. So I'm hoping you can feel, and you can give me a thumbs up for this, hopefully you can feel some paradigm shifting sparks going off in your head now. Because that's how it happened to me. It was like, whoa, yes, whoa. And, the Celestian Prophecy is such an old book. It's like, whoa. And I'm reading it again and seeing it with completely new eyes. I think at the time I was in a narcissistic relationship, and it was the control dramas that helped me then. And in fact, it was Judy that probably gave me the book. And then I started noticing now more of the importance of it for evolution. That's what I'm seeing this time around reading it. So I'll take a deep breath. Just intend your soul. The thing is, right, I'm telling you all this, but it's not about you having to learn how to do this. You already know how to do this. We've just got to deprogram that personality to let your soul take charge, because your soul knows this. It designed your life so that you already know this. We just have to take away all the illusions and all the identities and all the blocks that are holding you back. So don't be like scared, like, how do we achieve that? You are already this. You have already won. You are already this. We just need to believe it and allow the instinct of God to let the rest of it fall away now. So anything coming up as a priority for you guys right now? Any thoughts? Then journal them. So if you do pause now, you just might want to go and jot down some ideas that you're having. Don't ignore them. They're all important. Whatever comes into your mind, just jot them all down and keep a note of them so we can watch how they evolve over the next year. So I said I asked 8 questions for today's reading. I've already kind of hinted at some of the things already, so it's okay, don't worry. So the first question I asked for 2025 was, where are we right now? And the answer was returning to divine perfection, returning to innocence, forgiving ourselves, letting go energetically of guilt, fear, abandonment, betrayal. And if you remember last episode, we spoke about peridot doing some of this work for us as a crystal frequency. So whatever I said about peridot, all of that still is holding true for the whole of 2025. And we're basically still detoxing that heaviness out of our bodies so that we can lighten the load and become more peaceful and loving in our bodies as a regular frequency. Because things like fear and guilt are powerful negative vibrations, and they're keeping you trapped. So learning how to energetically release them, and like I said, you can't always just kill them, we have to transmute them into different energies, will attract more light into your life. So basically, we're still remembering the perfection of who we are right now in this moment. And the more we can remember that, then the more we can intend our instinct of God will just realign us back to that perfection, letting go of all of this pain that we've been holding on to from the past, from our relationships with our parents and other people and betrayals that we've had in our life. It's letting all that go now. Sorry, I'm just a bit shocked. Charles has just left a message about safety. He walked into his work site on January 1st and was kidnapped. Oh my God. On the site for 30 minutes. So he feels he can handle himself and he's got safety sorted. Well, that's physical safety, Charles. But if I, being a soul guide, I would be kind of remiss if I didn't ask about your emotional safety. Do you feel safe to emotionally express yourself? Do you feel safe to express the aspirations of your soul? Safety goes into many layers, and we're trying to fix all of those. So that's what I would suggest that you contemplate. So question 2 was, what will be our potential or challenge for this next year? And it's interesting because it was still cleansing, but it was purification as a word, and it implied washing away our sins. And it's interesting, when I was reading the future, What We Owe, the future book, it talked about our future generations would have to bear the sins of their fathers, which is like what we're doing now to future generations. So washing away our sins, I kind of felt might have 2 angles. Is like, if we purify ourselves now, then we're not creating the sins for the futures to have to fix. But equally, we are maybe feeling responsible for some of the sins of our ancestors too. And that's the kind of purification that we will struggle with over the next year. And I find that what often is our challenge is what can also be our potential. So if we're going to struggle with purification, then obviously when we do get through that challenge, what we have the opportunity of is that innocence, purer form and lighter vibration, which means we're in a much better place to help others and the world move into a different frequency in general. So any comments on question 2? Because right now, fear and guilt and some of those feelings have become your superstructures. Yeah, breaking intergenerational traumas and patterns for me. Yeah, that will fit into the control dramas from the Celestine Prophecy too. That's why I got you to read it. So yeah, so some of these painful emotions, the struggles, the guilt, betrayal, those aren't currently your superstructures. That's the superstructures of your personality. Those are the ones we want to dissolve and replace with superstructures of the soul instead. The problem is that we talked about, I think Charles mentioned that we're in fear or we're in love with separation, but really what we're in love in, we're in love with comfort. We like being in our comfort zone. We like being in our safety net. We're not very good at stepping out of it, or not all of us. Some of us might be more better. And again, like I said, some might be better physically, jumping out of aeroplanes, some emotionally struggle. There's going to be a different level for different people. But the personality is not going to want to let go, because the personality wants to identify itself. It wants to name itself. It wants to know what it is. And we're asking it to not care about that anymore and to be more fluid in what it is. And there's a huge fear with that. That's what the dark night of the soul is about. When you go through a dark night of the soul, you're kind of releasing some of that energy of your identity. It's breaking apart. That's why, and it's not a dark night of the soul, technically, it's a dark night of the personality freaking out because you've just transformed some identity. So that's kind of one of the reasons this is going to be tough for us, is because we're going to have to find something that's going to support us, a different superstructure to hold us up while we're knocking out those superstructures that are not serving us. And when we do that, what we'll find is our own true soul essence, which is stronger. And we'll realize how much of an illusion of strength the personality was giving us. Does that make sense? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be difficult for this new landscape, this new energy to come into your body when you're clogged up with outdated energies. Charles, you make me laugh. He said he felt he felt very safe to express his feelings to the kidnapper. So I wasn't expecting that. Oh, thank you, Charles. That's nice to hear. Oh, that made me laugh. Thank you. So yes. So it can throw me off a bit, yeah. So yeah, so if we can master this purification, then it will lead to a time for us to blossom, to renew, and to move into prosperity and life expansion. So there's a good reason for practicing this purification of the sins of our father, and to start letting go of what we think we did wrong that's caused all the guilt. Whether it's us for like what humans have done to the planet, whether it's because of a nationality and what they've done, or, it's time now to let all that go. So question 3, what do we need to know? What do we need to focus on becoming? So what do we need to focus on becoming? And I liked this because I had no clues what this could be. And I said, is it the quantum human? And it went, yes. And yes, that's what we're doing this for. So we need to start becoming more quantum human. And I'll just give you some of the kind of key aspects of what quantum human means. So it's about a balancing of the soul and personality, as we've already spoken about, a balancing of logic, intuition, and higher self knowledge. It's about energy awareness, which we've already spoken about, and controlling these control dramas, healing those. It's about being able to vision solutions. And now that we've experienced like living everybody's life, that's a vision and experience. But it's bigger than just visioning for yourself. And ability to weave your light and ideas into form. It's no good having fantasy dreams now. We have to turn them into reality and take action and make things happen in the physical world. Something popped up then, but it's gone again. So by expanding our consciousness beyond what we're currently thinking, we have to assume we're always wrong and we're still growing, which is all I take all these energy readings. I always assume everything needs to be checked rather than me assuming what something is. I try not to allow my preconceived personality thoughts to get in the way. And body testing, again, is a great way to bypass that personality and mind. And we need to become viewers of the bigger plan, but also leaders of unity consciousness and leaders of evolution. So that's the kind of quantum human purpose. and what we're trying to achieve. Pretty wild, isn't it? Yeah, it sounds it. You'll have to do us a video on this, or at least send me a voice message or something so I can get the whole story. So question 4, sorry, I'm talking to Charles then, in case you're wondering, his kidnapping experience. So question 4, anybody got any questions on question 3? Are we okay with that? Who we're becoming is the quantum humans. So question 4, what can we use as our strength during the next year? So we are beacons of light. We spoke about that a lot in the last episode, so I'm not going to go over that too much. You can always go back and listen to that. But the additional lesson is that as a beacon of light, you also have to be really good at containing your beacon of light. You can't just let it escape all over the place and be stolen and manipulated. We have to get better now learning how to manage this beacon of light. And I think it's more important now because our beacon of lights are getting stronger. So you've got a lot more energy that can do a lot more damage if it's in the wrong hands, as opposed to you having full control of it and directing it towards evolution. And when you have that sense of your energetic boundaries solid and strong, basically it's a bit like being a boat on the ocean where the wind blows you from side to side. That's how it feels when it's not working. But you just feel really anchored when it is completely solidified and you're in control of it. Because, like we said, with the control dramas, people are fighting for your energy because of these childhood issues to try get attention, to try and jealousy is one way, people being jealous of you can actually create shields and holes and blocks and spikes in your energy. So it's about now mastering that over the next year so that we can all connect to our own source of power and then we'll feel safer naturally. And whatever techniques other people are using that they learned as children, we can then start helping them to prevent it by highlighting it to them, by showing them how there's a better way to do it, by modeling how we do it. So technically, energy is like I said, the underlay of all of our battles. And if we can understand the energetic purpose behind somebody's anger, frustration, or harsh words, then we can understand the world much better and we feel more secure. And that's not just about understanding the personality. There's like past life, soul contracts, and all sorts of other stuff that play a part. The personality definition of how people interact is only one small part of that. So we have to get good at deciding what energy we let into ours and what we don't. And this allows us then to stay strong in our sense of self. So criticism and knockbacks don't impact us so much. And I often say that the first quantum human I like to tune into is Leonardo da Vinci. And he came up with some crazy ideas. He didn't give a damn. He went off and created these things, even if people thought it was impossible. He went and raised funding and he did it anyway. And that's how we kind of want to be if we want to be the change makers and creating evolutionary triggers in society, then it all happens on a small basis. It doesn't have to all be big things. So question 5. Any questions before I move on? Yeah, body testing is related to the physical, but it's actually a physical representation of our soul. It's from the heart intelligence and the soul wisdom. So when we body test, the body is doing it, but the information is always completely different to what the mind is saying, what the personality is saying. It's something to play with. It's fun when you use it for everything. You can use it for everything. It's so amazing when you get it right. But like I said, the way I use body testing is a bit different because body testing is the tool. The questions are the important bit. So I teach you guys how to work with the questions more to get more profound impact from them. So question 5, what is our near future? So the near future is just like what can we expect sooner than later? And I think that's just us exploring this new energetic landscape and how we can integrate it into our lives. And then looking at how we can align with the Aquarius vision. How can we go from our small self's view of the vision of the future and how can we make that bigger in the terms of how can we create evolution in humanity? It's also about looking at how we're going to understand the personality so we can heal, and then we'll find the answers to the bigger visions will just come naturally. Okay. Yeah, modeling is a huge part of what we're going to do. I'm not going to go into question 6 yet because that's another big one. So we're just going to go into 7. So question 7 is, what do we need to know? And what we need to know is divine grace. So we've had divine perfection, now we've got divine grace. and the law of efficiency. And I like this because it basically says, after all that huge stuff I've said, this is a nice reminder that life can be easy. If you can trust the bigger plan, stop trying to swim upstream, allow yourself to flow, allow your energetic frequency to be the way you create in the outer world. So shift your energy out of fear into love, and then watch how things unfold in the external world. Find ways where you can stay in that love frequency no matter the chaos around you or the arguments, and watch how things change. Even be able to create higher octaves of love. What you think is love, there's always more higher frequencies to experience. We can just keep going up the ladder. And if we can do that from that inside out approach, then we can avoid the suffering, the struggling, and then start allowing life to serve you based on that resonance and the law of attraction. And that is the most efficient use of your energy, and it will lead you to your best results. I got, yes, a lot of easy and flow from my higher self for 2025 manifestation. So in my group, we've been creating our own manifestations for 2025, and it's mirroring the messages of this reading, people are saying. So question 8, what is the potential future? And as I said to you at the beginning, it's yours to vision. Gone are the days of fear-based indecision. This is time to rise up and claim the truth of who you are and fulfill your soul's great vision. Do not expect the worst. That is now an outdated paradigm. Okay? So 6, the one I skipped, is the approach. So that's going to kind of mirror what we were talking about at the beginning. So this was the 3 books. So if you want to write these down, get your pen out now, and I'll tell you the 3 books that are representing, not all of the book, but the concepts or the themes or maybe a few of the pages are representing how we should approach 2025. So you got your pens ready so you can write the book names down? So this is going to be a huge theme that we continue to work on in my membership all the time. This is how we work. We tune into what energies there are, and then we use that as the theme. I develop all the workshops. Even the 12 superstructures get altered towards the theme. So we're always keeping current with what we're working on. So these are just the highlights, because I'm sure when I continue to read these 3 books, it's going to expand. But the 3 books are What We Owe the Future, What We Owe the Future, by William MacAskill, Macasskill, I think. That's the guy that did the Imagine You've Lived Every Single Life. The next book that came up was Take Me to the Truth. I haven't got them here, I don't think. Undoing the Ego. I don't have the author of that one, but Take Me to the Truth, Undoing the Ego. Again, that's an old book, that one. And that was basically, that's teaching you all about how to learn the personality. And again, I'm getting frustrated with that because I'm like, well, yeah, body testing answers that. You don't need to think like that if you've got body testing. So I kind of have that kind of moments with that book. But they're still interesting. Like looking at how people worked with the personality is still interesting, because I can then see, well, what are we doing with the soul that is naturally dissolving some of those things without having to label everything. So Take Me to the Truth, Undoing the Ego. And then the last book for the approach is actually the Celestine Prophecy is the parable, is the story bit, which is good to start with. There's another book in the series called the Celestine Vision, which is more of a reference book that kind of then breaks down the concepts just as a education that can go as a partner to the book itself. And it was interesting because for the Celestine Vision, the parts that came up were just the bits to do with parent and child and the control dramas. Because I think if you start looking at how you and your parents operate and learn that, then it's easier then to apply it to other people. And the concept of the Celestine Prophecy here is that if you look at what your mum and your dad did as their control dramas, they created your control drama based on those two. So those two evolved into you. And it's your job then to see their points of view, to see what their world views are from the mum and the dad, and your worldview, and to synthesize all that into a new evolved way of thinking to pass on to the next generation. So it's like pass the parcel, but instead of taking off layers, you're adding layers. And then each generation is basing their worldview, their theories, their idealistic or ideologies on this combination. And we're handing this down to the future so that they have the foundations then to make their decisions, if that makes sense. So they're the three books: The Celestine Vision, What We Owe the Future, and that Dissolving the Ego one. So if we take those three as a summary, I'll kind of try and pull, based on what I've read so far, I've tried to pull it together into one coherent story for you to get a feeling for this. So we're in a rapidly advancing time with technology and AI. We've got robotics that we can implant into our bodies. If we are responsible for the evolution of humanity, then what questions should we be asking now about AI and robotics? There's going to be many opportunities like brain implants, new arms, new legs, electronic computerized versions. But we have to be the generation that says, whilst these opportunities are there, should we be doing this? And not just because of this lifetime of it fixes a problem in our lifetime, but where is this going to, what is the snowball effect of saying yes to this now? How is it going to appear in the future? And what impact is it going to be? Is it going to be a time bomb? So we have to step out of our short-term gains and start looking at the bigger impact in the future and understand that we have a means to change this. I've already seen a post on LinkedIn of a guy saying he was speaking to a young 27-year-old, and the 27-year-old was struggling to put his words together and struggling to speak, and he thought, oh, maybe he's tired, or maybe he has a neurodiversity or something. And when he asked what was up, the young guy said, oh, I've just been using ChatGPT on all my conversations recently, and I can't pull the words together myself. Now that's scary. That's very, very scary. That is effectively the linguistic equivalent of the calculator. Because my mum's generation could do maths in their heads. Not saying that we need to, but we could do maths in our heads. My generation had the calculator. I'm useless at doing maths in my head. And I know like some people are more capable with maths than language, but this is language. If he can't express himself and communicate, and that is the future that we're creating, are we going to go back and start talking with grunts? And some teenagers do that now, don't they? They grunt and nod at each other. But what is the impact of that? Yeah, Jenny saw that post too. Yeah, I know, it's scary. So you can see that just because we can, we have to ask, should we? And we have to not just look at the social implications, but the physical. With maths, the reason why we can't do it so effectively is that neural pathways that we developed through learning maths didn't get developed. The calculator did it instead. That meant that those parts of our brain shut down because it's like we don't need that anymore. And that's how our brain evolves. You know, it works on what problems we've got in the world. It works and tunes itself so it can answer those questions. If we're not asking those questions, then it's like free space. Let's free it all up so we can use it for something else. And those neural pathways and the neurons all die away. And of course, with AI, we're starting to mess more with the brain and our creativity and impact our ability to do this natural. So effectively, AI could kill off the human brain. Now, wouldn't that be quite ironic? We have amazing computers that can think for themselves, and then the humans are all becoming dumb because they've relied too much on AI, that they've killed off their own neural pathways. Now, that sounds ridiculous, but it's not actually that far-fetched. So what are we genetically handing down to the next generation? And then what will motivate us to actually do something about it? Yeah? That's a funny sci-fi show. Yeah, but it's not a sci-fi. It could be true. It could be the reality in the future. So the thing is, we're not just applying this question to climate change, you know, that's like the one we're all talking about at the moment, and recycling. This is about how we educate, human well-being, whether we should be working the long hours we're working, human creativity and AI, our living conditions, the financial structures and the cost of living that we've all been put through. how we balance animal welfare and focus living on the earth by not giving the cows that tablet that stops their gas, that has some God knows what effect in the long run. Yeah? So can we look beyond our current problems and firefighting them and instead come up with more strategies and longer term solutions that are going to assist in the future as well, rather than lead to the destruction of humanity? Oh, I know, laughing at the destruction of humanity is not a good option, is it? But you get what I'm saying, yeah? So do we want in the future to see more burnout? You know, technology was supposed to come to save us and to give us more free time, but free time means we don't get an income, we don't get salary. So instead we go and we work longer, harder to get more money for more things. We get more burnout, we get more stress. Half the time we're stressing over computer systems that are not life-threatening, but it leaves us feeling like it is. We've got more authoritative rules because we gave our power away. You know, politicians are meant to be working for us, but we give them the keys to make changes in our lives that impact us. We've got the impact of our wellness versus the long hours we work. We could see our creativity could be limited through AI. Ideologies could be born out of AI and implemented. Surveillance, sold as safety. So that's one kind of visioning we could have. Yeah, we know some of this already exists. Or do you want to be part of changing humanity and helping them evolve, where we all have good health, time to make fantastic connections in our family, time to really tune into our creativity and live authentic lives? You know, we're probably all saying the second, I hope. I don't think many of us want the first. And then we're going, but how do we achieve that? Yeah? The answer is yes, and the impact is accept all timelines. Yeah, well, all of these are possibilities. But we can energetically, you know, in quantum physics, they say that something once is observed cannot be unobserved, and that they often turn up where we expect them to turn up, in entanglement theory. So, you know, they're going to be able to prove that soon, that our minds are such powerful electrotransmitters that we're consciously shifting our environment all the time. You know, it's going to take time, maybe not that long. You know, they're talking about AI consciousness already. So once they master that and they understand it, they'll probably understand why our brains work the way they work too. So most of our bad decisions in life and our bad project ideas come from personality, fears, and bad programming. So we're back to personality, yeah? The other thing is, whilst futurists, who are very left-brained and focused on logic, they may speculate on what is good in the future, you guys all here tonight are able to connect to soul wisdom and higher consciousness and to the divine plan. You may even know what's better. You might not know what is better, but if somebody said to you, do you think this particular project is a good idea? And you could body test or tune in and ask the divine, you could give them a yes or a no. You won't know why, but it doesn't matter. You could give them the answer that could avoid, like I said, this is my frustration with some of these books. I could give them some of the answers that could avoid the trial and error approach to what they're doing. So then that means as quantum humans, if we perfect our connection as messengers of light, which is the first question I asked you as we started tonight, and we were able to craft them into a practical language, and if we were willing to position ourselves not in the shadows, but actually putting ourselves at a decision-making level in industries, in committees, even in families or communities, then we've reprogrammed, imagine we've reprogrammed all of our personality, fears and guilts into our strengths instead. So we're not coming from a place of personality. We're now completely purified, innocent connections to our source. And imagine that person as a strategic consultant in all of the decision-making areas of life. And things start feeling a bit more possible. So what stops us becoming that person willing to go into these strategic places and make a difference? And it could be art, it could be cooking, it could be nutrition, it could be anywhere. Because I body tested answers on multiple choice test at work and it got it right. we do. It's quite amazing when you tune in with body testing and source. It's a real powerful combination. We can really get some interesting answers and we don't know how. But imagine using that skill for strategies for Earth and evolution. So what stops us doing that? So it comes down to, I think, these 12 superstructures that I've been working on. Learning how to reprogram personality, learning how to communicate soul aspirations, learning to think of new, evolved ways of valuing things and exchanging money. And the Celestine vision talks about tithing, which is, I haven't got time to go into today, but I thought that was really fascinating too. The ability to dissolve control dramas. You know, when we learn all of these skills and the ability to see into the future and vision it and describe it, those become superstructures. We're then more capable to step into those roles and take on the responsibility of sharing what we know. Because everything I'm sharing with you today, you're going to have your own insights on that's really important too. And we need your unique knowledge out there in the world. Not necessarily as a business idea or social media, but just the old-fashioned storytelling way. That's what we want to see modeled, you know? The old-fashioned way we used to learn was sitting around the campfire, having our grandmothers tell us stories and handing down knowledge that way. Simple things like how you conquered your fears, shared with your children. Can you imagine the power of that? Imagine sharing it with your bigger family or with your work colleagues. I know most people will go, whoa, not sharing that stuff with work colleagues, but you know, we are one. This is what we've got to get to. And then imagine a work colleague hearing what you said and going, wow, that's really useful. And then synthesizing something from their own personal experience and creating an evolution of that concept that they can then use in their families and their children. This is what evolution really is. And this is what's explained in the Celestine Vision book as well. So they describe this as synchronicities. Meeting the right person to say the right thing that leads you in the right direction. They call them synchronicities. But we're in a society now where we don't talk to anybody anymore. We don't share this stuff unless it's really close friends. We're not willing to talk to a stranger. So we're breaking this, this evolution technology, if you want to call it. If humans sharing stories is how evolution takes place, then we're breaking that at the moment with technology. And if we really understood the importance of sharing these stories, how you might not even know that what you're about to say is going to trigger somebody into a huge reaction, but you say it anyway, then we have to understand that these need to be valued more as really important ways that we can trigger change just by sharing our stories. So if we take the example we started with that 4 trillion year experience, where we've lived every life, what percentage of that 4 trillion experiences do you think we see in our history books as the events that allegedly shaped our futures? Anybody? 2%? Did you body test that, Marta? Yeah, it's low. It's very, very low. It's a small fraction of all of that 4 trillion years. So what do you think evolution is going to leave it to chance? Do you think evolution is going to leave these major historic moments that only make up 1% of 4 trillion years of human experiences? No. It's going to be done through something much more simplistic than that. It's going to be done through the mundane. The biggest evolution is going to go through the mundane. Now, technically, we could look at the light bulb. I've used this example before. The light bulb was an experiment. It was just like considering if they could create electric through the light bulb and light it up. It went on to change society. That one light bulb changed society because once we had the light bulb, we could now work longer. We could stay up longer. We ended up having more indoor office type work, which we couldn't do before, which had to finish because there was no light. Yeah? They didn't think that when they created the light bulb. That wasn't their kind of overall plan that the industry could now take off. And yet it was key. And it was quite mundane and quite a small invention, really. I know it's big in some respects, but you know what I mean? It's not It was big in terms of science, but not so big in terms of society impact. And instead, it became huge as a societal impact. So the way we create evolutionary change is through storytelling. And it's shaped over our dinner times, which guess what? We don't sit and have dinner with each other anymore. So we don't get the dinner times anymore. It's done through the mundane, random conversations had in random moments with random people on buses or trains, instead of us all being in our cars driving solo to work. It's done through community meetups rather than always being in the mode of absorbing in courses and like getting information coming one way. It's about giving back as well. So basically, all of you right now are already shaping the future one small decision at a time. You already are. So can you accept that? Can you accept that you've probably already shaped the evolution and now you're going to do it more consciously? Yeah, Charles was saying he shared one of his stories. As I said, if I had more time to focus on that story, Charles, you'd have to give me more. Then yes, there could be something really important that you said that today, and it is important to something I'm working on. I just need the rest of it. So this is why, like when you communicate with me in the chat, I answer. But I want to start a conversation. I want to ask questions. I want to synthesize. I want to examine and pull things apart and put them together again. And we have to all get used to that because that's how we evolve. Yeah. You can see this is quite an interesting view, isn't it? So I could have ignored everything that I was visioning about the quantum human, going, quantum human, well, that's a bit weird. I don't want to say that out loud. And I could never have shared everything I've shared right now. And I wouldn't have the theory that I've already got built up over the last 3 years, which is a kind of new ethic for how we can live. I could have been put off by the struggle of people not watching the YouTube videos or not being able to get my posts out on social media as I want to, which is an ongoing issue. But I felt it was important enough to keep on trying. And I was reminded constantly by Spirit that to get the ball rolling, such a big ball as this, to get it rolling is hard. It's to get it, even just to move a little bit is hard. But to keep on showing up and to keep on doing it. And back when I started this in 2021 on the Soul Grit vision and the work that I was doing then, I didn't perceive that I would be where I am now, or that 2025, which I'm kind of excited about, could be the year where this ball might actually start rolling, which would be fantastic after all this work. But the thing is, each of you all have your own theory of your life and your spirit of life and spirituality for you to develop and for you to share. And it's not, like I said, about writing books or creating businesses. This is about us actually just sharing a story to see what happens. Sharing one small bit of information at a time, like Charles did about his kidnapping. I'm really curious about that. I want to know more. And then having the response and the hearing the answer back, and maybe we want to resolve it in that one interface or that conversation at that moment. We might not understand it then, but the next person will add something, and the next person will add something until it builds up. And that's the synchronicities that are described in the Celestine prophecy. So in my membership, I know that I'm learning as much from them as they're learning from me. But it's really important now that we're so used to going to courses and receiving, but we really have to start giving back. Not because you're giving back. When I ask for feedback, like even now during this session, when I ask you guys for feedback, it's not just like checking in to see if you understood what I said. Your feedback might be something completely random. However, you sharing it could cause an evolution on a bigger scale than you can imagine. When I read it out here, somebody's going to hear this on the video that will go, oh my God, that's exactly what I needed to hear right now. Like with Charles being kidnapped and still feeling safe. I want to know how he did that. Somebody else could be listening and want to know that too. So it's not an accident that that was brought up in this conversation. And that's what the Celestine prophecy synchronicities are all about. But last time I kind of already knew about synchronicities and that's how we follow, but I was looking at it from a much more personal level. Now I'm seeing it as the means, the technology for evolution. So based on everything I've shared now, what have you guys got to share with me? What clues are you going to give me back? Yeah, reminds me of somebody else in our group who had a similar experience in a taxi. Yeah, she was kidnapped in a taxi. Yeah, that was a bit shocking as well. So we'd have to look into the spiritual meaning of kidnapping to see what that represented. But I'll give you a moment to think about what comes up to you to share, and you can always come back and add it to the video later. You don't have to do it in the moment. So what I'm asking you to do is to trust that you have something important to share, that it will create an evolution if you obey your soul, if you carry on working on your personality to remove the fears and the guilt and all the other energies that are negative and holding you down, so that you can rise up and start seeing the world differently and realizing each of you has a part to play. And you need to understand also that it's meant to be confusing. You're meant to feel lost most of the time because that's what happens when you change. It's iterative, it's ongoing, it's meant to frustrate you and confuse you, and it's meant to then make you, from the confusion, synthesize a new view, a new perspective, a new worldview, so that you can then share that with people. So it's okay if what you're doing today is not the same as you were doing 2 weeks ago. Just the same as it's okay if you now don't believe in Santa Claus and you did as a child. You know? These are the evolutions that we have to go through. So all I ask for 2025 is that you all start sharing your soul-aligned truth with everyone. Now, I always put a warning on this. You can do discerning. This is where body testing is important. It's done through intuitive. You don't just go randomly blurting out everything to everybody. It's done through intuition, like this person I'm supposed to say something to, that person I'm not. So we still use our body testing and our intuition to guide who we tell. But where possible, we don't become aloof and hold back on information. We tell our story. And we know that by doing that, we're evolving humanity. A natural way to get into important conversations with more people without depleting my energy. Yeah, that would be the control dramas will help you understand what you're doing wrong there as well. So Charles is saying, okay, the soul, I think that says it all. There's a lot of information there. So today, we're getting to the end now, guys. So today, if you're here live or watching a replay, that is a synchronistic event. My words might start a new line of thought with you. Maybe you'll say something to somebody else that will start a new line of thought with them. So this is why it's important, like I said, to give me feedback and insights too, so that you can send that evolution back the other way. Now, the Celestine Prophecy Vision talked about tithing. And this is a concept where you pay somebody for the information they give you. If somebody gives you information that causes a change in you, you pay for it. And equally, when you say to somebody else, you get paid. And it kind of goes as this as a possibility, as a stepping stone, as a financial system, until we go through this automation AI, where people are losing their jobs, until we then come up with a new financial economic system from that. So I thought that was quite interesting as well. It kind of, because I had wondered how we were going to go to a moneyless system. So tithing for information based on spiritual experience sounded a really interesting way, not just through YouTube videos and stuff, but just by saying the right thing to the right people, and then the money kind of starts flowing intuitively, if you think about it, just like the information is. So at the beginning, I said, we can't do this alone anymore. So hopefully now you're starting to see why we can't do it alone anymore. It's kind of like we all have a bit to play. And if we stay isolated, we're not going to share the crucial information we need. Keeping to yourself is withholding vital information for the evolution of humanity. That's a big statement, isn't it? So that's the end. I'm just going to leave you the mantra and things, but that's quite a lot to think about, yeah? So Marta's saying that she feels relieved because she's been feeling like that, lost and in a rebirth mode most of my life. And at least once a year, I thought this was a way of being a broken human, but instead I've been rebirthing and renewing more lives in one. Yeah. That is the way we're going. That's the evolution. So we kind of sometimes think because we haven't got things sorted and all fixed that we're broken, but no, that's the way it's meant to be. That's how we keep growing and keep evolving. So the mantra that you might want for this month is, I am tapped into my instinct of God. to be always purifying my mind, body, and energy. So based off the purification part. So I am tapped into my instinct of God to be always purifying my mind, body, energy, and emotions, and also my past experiences, so that I can become a higher vibrational light temple, or beacon of light, in which my soul feels deliciously at home. I show up for service as a pure, empowered, sovereign light beacon for others and the planet. So for those that can body test, are we all in alignment with that? So it's tapping into that God spark, that instinct of God in every cell of your body to allow yourselves to evolve naturally, to change naturally, to just accept it as part of changing regularly from a caterpillar into a butterfly multiple times in your lifetime. 89, 79%. Nice. So that was a lot to share whenever. Sorry, I've gone over quite a lot, but it was really important that I got all that done in one go. So hopefully, like I said, if you stopped earlier, you can come back and watch the rest of it again. So if you like what I share and you want to embrace more of your quantum human abilities or understand more of this theory that I'm building up, then we can work together by my membership, which is a monthly subscription-based system. And basically now we do 12 workshops and we do tools around that and concepts around that with a workbook and everything. But those 12 workshops are based on your new soul superstructure that we want to put in place to help dissolve the personality, fear, and guilt that you might have been feeling. And these superstructure pillars are what you need so that you can redesign your life. And I like the word extraordinary because extraordinary, when you put it together, is sounding amazing. But extraordinary is saying, you're just ordinary, but it's extra, is that mundane way that we change the world. So I kind of like the play on words with that. But we're very focused on the soul and creating soul satisfaction, not personality illusion satisfaction. So that's a 3-hour workshop. We're doing it on weekends, alternating on Saturdays and Sundays to give a different time zone for different people. And as I said, it's done through a membership subscription so that you sign up, but if you want to cancel and just come for certain months, then you can come in and cancel it, or you can stay for the whole year. And I do give a discount for those that sign up for the whole year so that they can experience all 12. It's iterative, it changes every year, so it's not like a one-off. So I don't want to call it a course, it's more like a life support system because we keep developing these superstructures. As we evolve, we need bigger superstructures so we can go higher. So it has a workbook of questions, and that becomes our work for the month, including these energy readings. They all get woven into that. And we learn just intuitively, naturally, based on what we need to know when we need to know it. We don't try and put any pressure on ourselves. We can enjoy the exploration in a more slow way, rather than forcing ourselves to achieve certain things each month. Because the soul designed your life, it knows what it needs when it needs it. So I think that gives us a way to navigate life in a much more graceful way overall. So that's the group work that I do. Otherwise, we can do one-to-ones as a 6-month intensive, which is the same stuff, but much more personalized. We start looking at your own superstructures and altering them and creating liberation from the personality. So that's a 6-month intensive that I do there. So based on all of that, that's a lot for us to absorb for 2025. As I said, when I come back, I'll go into each month and see how we get more tuned in for each month and see how we can then start bringing this into more practical action each month. So if you ever want to set up an assessment with me, I do offer free assessments a couple of months so that you can talk to me and see if my work aligns with you as well. So just email me on soulvisionguidance@gmail.com, and that will give you the, I can send you the link then to the calendar to book one of the free ones. So the next date I'll see you guys will be the 17th of February. So put that in your diary and do hit like, add comments, as many as you can. Let's create more synchronicities in the comments. And let's see if we can get this ball rolling so that other sleeping quantum humans can see this content. So share it with others. And that, in a way, is a synchronicity, sharing this with the right person at the right time. Even if it's not them that wants it, they might share it with another person. So let's get that ball rolling if we can. And keep chatting to me in the comments so that we can all keep the evolution going. So thank you all for joining me. I'm going to go off now and join the others on Zoom. But before I leave, I just want us to take a deep breath, come into our bodies. We've been thinking a lot about the future, so let's just come back into the present and know that even though we're thinking of the future and what we owe it, what we do here and now is how we change the future. So I'll say goodbye, and just remember, you can choose to flip the script of what it means to be human and instead build a powerful quantum self to create a new narrative, a high vibrational narrative for yourself, that you can learn to manage your energetic boundaries and your control dramas and purify the dense energies, and that you can start thinking about what part of your current existence, and that can be something that bugs you right now. That's usually a good way to find out what your theory might be about, to develop your own theories of how we can be more spiritual and live a fulfilling life. And finally, what can you do today that future generations will thank you for? Okay, so thank you guys. Sorry I went on a lot longer than I intended. Didn't expect it to be that long, but it's hopefully been useful. And I'll see you on the 17th of February. So if there's no more questions, I'll just hold on for a second because it takes you two a bit longer. Charles is saying he's not sure he could be that unselfish. You can when you get your superstructures in. That's the way I see it. The more superstructures we put in and the more we fix it at that level on the soul level, it's actually easier to become unselfish. Yeah, that's the word, right, isn't it? And that's kind of what I've been working on. Is I didn't realize that's what I was working on until now. But hey, that's how soul wisdom works. They don't always tell you the big picture. So has everyone got any questions? Are we okay with that? Hey, put your hands on your heart and just let that sink in. Like I said, your soul already knows all this. It's your human brain that's catching up. So allow that to sink in over the next couple of weeks till I see you next time. Replay this when you're sleeping. Just allow this energy to start shifting you, that instinct of God, allow it to shift you naturally, effortlessly. Remember, everything doesn't have to be complicated. Don't struggle, just allow. Okay, no more questions, then I'll say good night. Bye, guys. That's a long goodbye.